echoes from the first national charter. The story begins with a quiet decision that would ripple across centuries, an experiment in power, trust, and ambition that seemed simple at first glance. Yet beneath its surface, it carried the weight of a nation still learning to define itself. To understand why this moment still matters today, we need to step back into the early republic. A young America was struggling to balance dreams of independence with the harsh reality of managing money, trade, and national identity. Every choice felt urgent. Every mistake felt permanent. And the idea of a central bank was more than a policy debate. It was a test of who the country wanted to become. At its core, the first national charter wasn't just a financial tool. It was a bold attempt to unify a fractured economic landscape under one reliable institution. Supporters believed it could stabilize credit, strengthen the government, and draw the states into a shared financial future. They saw it as a promise of order in a world still shaken by war. But the early promise came with questions that refused to stay quiet. Voices rose across the country, worried that too much power would fall into too few hands. Others feared that a national institution could overshadow local autonomy. Still, the charter moved forward, carving a new path and setting the stage for debates that would return again and again. In the beginning, everything seemed steady. The bank issued notes, managed federal funds, and offered the kind of structure the young nation desperately needed. Confidence grew, merchants expanded trade, and for a moment, it felt as if the country had discovered the financial backbone it had been searching for. But beneath this emerging stability lay invisible tensions, differing visions of the nation's financial future, conflicting ideas of who should control money and who should benefit from it. These early fractures, subtle at first, would shape the next chapter of American finance in ways no one yet understood. Tension deepened as the bank's influence spread across the states, creating new patterns of trust and suspicion. Merchants welcomed the steady flow of credit, but farmers and small lenders felt overshadowed by a system they didn't control. The promise of unity began to feel uneven, and whispers of imbalance spread through town halls and taverns alike. The bank's leaders believed they were providing stability, yet their decisions reached far beyond their walls. When they tightened credit, distant communities felt the strain. When they expanded lending, markets surged in ways that felt both exciting and unpredictable. Each choice created winners and losers, and those caught on a losing side grew louder in their frustration. To many, it seemed the young nation had built a tool too powerful to exist without careful oversight. But oversight itself became the battleground. Some demanded stronger federal control to keep the institution accountable. Others insisted that states should have more authority, arguing that distant decision-makers had no right to shape local economies. As the debate intensified, political factions seized the moment. The bank transformed from a financial experiment into a symbol of clashing ideologies. Supporters framed it as the cornerstone of national progress. Critics saw it as an elite machine that threatened the freedoms they had fought so hard to protect. Yet even as the arguments raged, the bank continued its work. It collected taxes, stabilized currency, and supported the government in ways smaller institutions could not replicate. Its presence became woven into the country's daily operations, creating a dependence few wanted to acknowledge openly. But the deeper conflict was still forming. Beneath every policy fight and public speech lay a fundamental question. Should the United States place its financial future in the hands of central authority, or should it scatter that power across the states? This tension grew quietly, setting the stage for a confrontation that would shake the Charter's foundations and redefine the country's path forward. As the nation expanded, the bank's influence stretched with it, drawing more communities into its orbit and intensifying old anxieties. Local bankers felt squeezed by an institution that could outcompete them in nearly every way. Farmers watched credit tighten during crucial seasons, wondering why decisions made hundreds of miles away determined the fate of their harvests. The bank's success, once seen as a stabilizing force, now cast a long shadow. In Congress, voices sharpened. Lawmakers questioned whether the charter had strayed from its original purpose. They argued that the institution no longer served as a simple stabilizer, but as a gatekeeper of opportunity. Each time the bank intervened in the economy, allegations surfaced that it favored merchants over farmers. cities over rural towns, and federal priorities over local needs. Even those who once supported the charter began to doubt whether any one institution should hold such reach. This distrust fueled a rising movement determined to challenge the bank's authority. Political leaders found themselves pressed to choose sides, knowing that whichever stance they took would define their legacy. Supporters warned that dismantling the institution would plunge the nation back into chaos. Opponents countered that allowing it to continue unchecked would surrender the country's financial soul. The debate no longer revolved around policy. It had become a question of identity. Outside the chambers of power, ordinary Americans felt the tension as well. Shopkeepers hesitated before expanding their businesses, unsure how shifting credit conditions might affect them. Families debated whether to trust the notes in their pockets, worried that political winds could alter their value overnight. Rumors spread quickly, filling the gaps between what people understood and what they feared. These uncertainties only deepened when unexpected strains hit the economy. A misjudged lending cycle here, a sharp contraction there. Each event added pressure to a system already struggling under the weight of competing visions. The bank, once praised for bringing clarity, now found itself blamed for confusion and volatility. As frustration mounted, the conflict reached a slow, simmering boil. The nation had arrived at a crossroads without realizing it. Every speech in Congress, every rumor in the marketplace, and every nervous glance at a banknote hinted that a decisive moment was approaching. Something fundamental was about to break, pushing the charter toward a reckoning that would test not only the institution itself, but the balance of power within the entire young republic. The confrontation arrived with a force that no speech or compromise could contain. Leaders who once spoke cautiously now declared the bank a threat to the republic. Supporters fired back with equal conviction, warning that tearing down the institution would plunge the nation into uncertainty. The debate turned into a national drama, and every citizen felt its pull. When the final decision came, it struck like a hammer. The charter would not be renewed. The institution that once carried the nation's financial hopes was suddenly counting down its final days. In the aftermath, the country felt the shock ripple outward. Branches closed. Notes were withdrawn. Communities that had depended on the bank's stability now faced a financial landscape without a central anchor. Some celebrated the victory, believing they had reclaimed control from an overreaching institution. Others watched anxiously, aware that the tools built to protect the economy had disappeared overnight. Yet even as the doors shut, the bank's influence refused to fade. Its successes and failures became lessons etched into the nation's memory. Politicians revisited its story each time the economy stumbled. Citizens recalled the stability it offered during turbulent years. And quietly, generations of leaders began asking the same question. Could a nation as vast and complex as the United States truly function without a unified financial center? This realization shaped the years that followed. New crises emerged, revealing gaps the old charter had once filled. Internal debates reignited. And slowly, the country began to understand that the struggle over centralized financial power was not a battle with a single ending. It was an ongoing story woven into the nation's identity, resurfacing whenever uncertainty returned. Looking back, the rise and fall of the first charter did more than test a young republic. It revealed the tension between independence and stability, freedom and structure, ambition and restraint. It exposed the contradictions at the heart of a nation still deciding how to wield its power. And in many ways, those contradictions remain with us today, guiding every conversation about money, leadership, and trust. The echoes of that early decision still resonate. They remind us that financial choices are never just about numbers. They are reflections of the world we hope to build.